Um, really what I was, going to use these sort of sessions were really, they were based around tutoring. So if you needed any extra help, or if you need questions or answers for anything, that this is a place that you can come and ask those questions. You can either do it verbally with your mic if you can, if you're able to talk, or you can type in the text box there, and we can address those questions either individually, one-on-one, or as a group, because it looks like it's just me and you on here, and that's fine because I do realize everybody's got class and they work. It's just I think because the class is so big in a lot of ways, everybody has a different schedule that we would never be able to match our schedules or our days of the week that we could do this where everybody was going to be on board. That's why these are not necessarily mandatory, but they're here in case you want to come and get some help or tutoring or that type deal. I do offer in-person tutoring at the Camden Center or at the Camden campus at the library on Mondays and Wednesdays, basically from 10:15 to 11:15. So if you need to be more in person, just let me know that you're coming, and we can set something up during that time if you want as well, if that's easier. You just want to make sure that you're probably going to have to abide by the whole deal of the COVID situation, wear your mask, that type deal, if you decide to come face to face. Otherwise, I'm very impressed by some of the drafts that I've been reading of your narrative essay. Some of them are really, really good. Some of them are really coming around, especially if you're sending multiple drafts. Hopefully you're using smart thinking as well. I hope that is working for most folks. If you are having some issues with smart thinking, please email me and let me know so we can go ahead and address that and see what's going on. Otherwise, I'm not hearing too many issues about smart thinking for those that have used it. So I'm assuming everything is going fairly well with smart thinking on that end. If you did send a draft over the weekend, I tried to get them back as quickly as I could. I had some internet issues. I don't know if anybody's dealt with Comcast or Xfinity, but it seems like over, like a holiday or over the weekend, especially on a Sunday, my internet likes to sort of go in and out now for whatever reason. And I do apologize because I know some of y'all, not just in 1101, but 1102 was also sending stuff. And, if I can't get on, if I don't have working internet, then I'm pretty much stuck in the water until it's able to come back on. And a lot of times it wants to come back on about 6 or 7 o'clock at night when everybody's trying to, especially if you get kids. I got 2 daughters, so 7, 8 o'clock at night, it's kind of hard to do a whole heck of a lot, especially when you got a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old running around. But I do apologize, and if you did send something I didn't get a chance to look at it, I probably have already sent it when I got back to work today. So please check your email to see, because I know there was like 6 or 7 drafts from various classes, not just this one, but I know I sent those back between 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock, I think. So unless you just sent something recently, then you should have something in your inbox. So this week, remember essay 1 is due. We're beginning our next genre of writing, which is descriptive writing. If you look at your week 3 folder, it talks a little bit more about descriptive writing. It gives you a prompt for your essay 2. We will look at that here momentarily. We talk a little bit more about writing paragraphs, which I'll also give you, information in your e-text on page 27 through 43. There's some information about descriptive writing on pages 94 through 97, which also gives you a really good student model essay to look at. So keep in mind, any of the essays that are in your e-text are basically A quality. So when I give you those to look at, they're there for the purpose of, hey, this is how your essay should look. This is how it should sort of flow, how you style it as it relates to the MLA format, the paragraphs, that type deal. Obviously, the topics will be different, but it's still, it's a descriptive essay or it's a narrative essay. We also look at really the last bit of grammar that's going to be on your first quiz, and that's going to be due later this week on Sunday as well. So we look at nouns and article usage. So if you look at your e-textbook, pages 235 to 237, they give you some more information that goes along with what we looked at the first 2 weeks, which was fragments, run-ons, comma splices, faulty parallelism, and positives. So I'm going to share my screen here. And as you can tell, we're at our week 3. And I basically sort of just gave you that rundown. Let me see if I can blow this up without knocking everything off. If you click there, again, I give you the overview, the main topics that we're looking at. Remember your first essay, your narrative paper, the one that you've been sending back and forth, draft-wise, that you did on the blogs for the peer review part 1 and part 2, that is actually going to be due this Thursday. So if you look, today's the 7th, which is Tuesday, so you have 2 days. It's going to be due on the 9th before 11:59. And I'm going to show you where that Dropbox is at. So you know where to put it in. Now, you don't have to wait until Thursday, 11:59. If you've done multiple drafts, if you send it to Smart Thinking, if you're just sort of tired of looking at it because you basically had the last 2.5 weeks of doing this, if you just want to go ahead and submit it and be done with it, then if you go all the way down, you're going to see this thing that says Essay 1 Dropbox. You basically click on that. It tells you when it's due, tells you how many points, gives you more information. What you want to do is you want to browse your computer, right? So hopefully you have it saved to a Microsoft Word document. I will talk a little bit about that because some of your, when you were doing the blogs, especially the part 1, some folks were sending or uploading PDF files. There's nothing really wrong with a PDF file. The only problem with that I have is I can only read it. I can't mark it up. I can't give you feedback. Only thing I can pretty much is read it and grade it. So if you really want to know what you did wrong or did right or all the above, if you want feedback, then you need to send it as a Microsoft Word document file. So I'm just going to use this essay here. I'm going to double click. It should be attached. You should see something here. It should have this little emblem or this logo. If you don't see any of this here, then chances are you're not attaching anything. So when you hit submit, it's just going to be nothing, which is not good, because when you submit a document or when you submit stuff to Dropbox with nothing in it, it's automatically going to grade it as a 0. And I think we talked about zeros in the past. You don't want that to happen. Obviously, there's time. If something happens, I can go between now and Thursday to sort of delete one of your attempts, that type deal. But if you wait until Thursday, 11 o'clock, and you submit something and there's nothing there, well, I can't change that when I look at it and start grading it on Friday. You're just going to have to sort of eat the 0 at that point. So please make sure that whatever you're attaching is a Microsoft Doc or DocX file, and that there's actually something here. And then what you're going to have to do is click the plagiarism tool, because it's going to run your essay through a plagiarism checker. The great thing about some of these early on essays is that it's a lot of it's just coming from your head, because nobody really knows your story as it relates to a narrative better than you, because you lived that experience. Nobody else really lived that experience. We might be related to it or can relate to it, but you probably are not going to find a paper online that's exactly like yours. So hopefully when you submit that, the plagiarism checker will come back as 0%. And we'll talk about that as we get later, as it gets closer to the research paper, because certain items, sometimes the plagiarism will The checker will flag certain words, certain phrases. And if you're in between 0 and 10% when it comes to the plagiarism checker, and you can see this on your end after you submit your essay as well, that means it's original thought. It's, you know, it's your own ideas, it's creative, that type deal. So you don't have anything really to worry about. When that number, 11, when it gets 11 or higher, 11% or higher, then we have to start looking at it a little bit more, especially if you start getting 40 and 50% on your papers. That way, I mean, that's usually telling me somebody's probably copied and pasted, or they plagiarized an essay maybe from another student. They bought a paper or something of that nature. So as long as you're in between 0 and 10, you're pretty good. After that, you just go down and you just hit the submit button. And once you do that, I will get it, and it'll say, hey, it's time to grade this one. So hopefully that whole deal with submitting your paper won't be so bad. And if you look, I put some information about how to write a perfect paragraph. It's sort of just additional information to the writing paragraphs. So if you read pages 27 through 43 and you need additional information, then here's that web link that you can use to get additional information. Same thing with your nouns and article usage. You read these pages, if you need additional information, I put some information in here about articles and nouns. Descriptive writing the same way. So when you think about descriptive writing, we're really thinking about using your 5 senses in a lot of ways. So our 5 senses are, you know, taste, smell, hear, see, touch. So when we actually look at our essay 2, and I'm going to go ahead and pull that up because that's the next essay that we're going to have to start looking at this point. Really deals with music. And most of us, I'm sure, we love listening to music. Music has a way to get us through the day, get us through the week, get us through life in general. So if you look here, it's basically the same MLA 9 format, double space, Times New Roman 12. It needs to be 3 pages or 750 words, whatever is comes first for you. Again, if you get the 750 words and basically said everything that you needed to say, then you can stop. If you need to go a little bit longer because you're short, you're 2 pages and you're not 750 words, then by all means go to page 3. This particular paper is going to be due on September 26th, which is a Sunday. There's going to be a Dropbox for it. Basically the same deal like you did with Essay 1 and the Dropbox. So if we look, today's the 7th. The 26th, you got Sunday, Sunday, and Sunday. So you basically have about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks to do this. You have that amount of time to send me and Smart Thinking drafts. So some folks, you know, may start wanting to draft this particular essay this week after they submit their Essay 1. They may want to go ahead and get on with it, and that's fine. The whole purpose for me giving you, you know, 2 to 3 weeks to do these is so that you have enough time that you can send me drafts, get the help, you know, send stuff to Smart Thinking, whatever the case may be. You're not having to rush and say that I gave you this essay topic and here it is, it's due in 3 days. I want to give you enough time that you're able to do what you need to do and that you're not feeling rushed to get these things done. So the topic says musical time machine. Plato once said this about music. Music gives a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. Let's face it, life without music would be a crappy existence. A song arouses numerous emotions at different times in our life, and a song can transport us to a memory of our past, keep us lucid in the present, and optimistic about the future. Therefore, here's the prompt. Pick your favorite song and write a descriptive essay on how that song and its lyrics bear organic sentiments to your life. So basically, you're going to pick your favorite song and you're going to sort of go through descriptively those lyrics and how it sort of brings out organic feelings to your life. You want to use your five senses when and where you can to bring your song and your emotions that it brings to your life to life worthy of your description. So you're doing a couple things here. You're describing the song, you're going through and you're describing the lyrics, but you're also in some ways analyzing that song and those lyrics as it relates to your life. What kind of feelings does that particular song and its lyrics bring out in you? Is it sadness? Okay, describe the sadness. Is there a way that you can use your five senses to describe that sadness? Meaning, if you listen to a sad song, does it bring you back to a point in your life where you were depressed or where you were sad? Meaning, let's say that there's a song that you and your grandmother used to listen to a lot, and she got sick or died of natural causes. And every time you hear that song, it sort of brings you back to the emotion of, one, it could be the funeral, right? You can kind of describe the situations, the sounds, the smells, the taste, the touch of that. You can, if that song brings back happy memories of you and your grandmother, maybe cooking in the kitchen, maybe watching TV, whatever the case may be, you can use your five senses to bring about that particular, not only that moment that song and its lyrics brings out, but you can use your five senses to sort of really convey to your audience, we can feel what you're feeling. We're sort of like the fly on the wall. We can smell it, we can taste it, we can see it, we can touch it, that type deal. It could be, that's just one particular example. It doesn't necessarily have to be sad and depression, all the time. It could be a happy feeling. It could be an exciting feeling. It could be a scary feeling. Maybe you went to a fair one year and you got on one of the really high or scary rides. And, usually when you go to a fair, they're always playing some sort of music. So maybe you were really scared to death, but you got on that ride because somebody coaxed you to get on it, or you wanted to appear more brave than you really were. But you hear that song in the background describe that, that feeling of fright, of being scared. And again, you don't have to use every single one of your five senses, because certain lyrics and certain songs are going to, play more to that than others. Obviously, if you're talking about a happy moment in your life and it involves around maybe like graduation or something of that nature, you may not be able to use taste unless there's food, a part of that. Or if there was food somehow related to the song or its lyrics. So, you're going to have to be selective with your five senses. Obviously, everybody should be able to use hearing, because you're going to be able to hear the song. You'll be able to hear a lot of the things that are going on in that particular moment. Either you're flashbacking in time, that you're back in that moment when things are happening. Obviously, you're going to use sight, because you can read the lyrics. Unless you're blind or something like that, which I don't think anybody is, you're going to be able to use your sight, your hearing. Feel, right? Touch. That where it really may be problematic would be the taste, but you may be able to fit that in depending on your situation. But in the nutshell, this is pretty much your next essay topic. And again, if you go back and look at the stuff in your book, if you go back and look at that website, that handout that I provided in your week 3 folder, you'll be able to have additional information about descriptive writing in general. In a lot of ways, you're bringing your song and the lyrics that, take you back to a particular point in time. You're sort of painting a picture with words. So again, we should be able to understand, or we should be able to be in your shoes and feel how that song is making you feel, how it's moving you. what you see during that event, what you hear during that event, what you touch during that event, what you possibly taste. So the creative part of this, or maybe the challenging part more so, is going to be picking the song and the lyrics, because you probably have, if you're like me, there's many different songs, there's many different lyrics that fit different slices of your life. So you might want to brainstorm, maybe take a day or two and really think about, a series of songs that really impacted you, and then sort of narrow them down. Maybe take a piece of paper and jot down maybe 10 songs, and then, start thinking about, okay, from these 10, which one is the one that really sort of moves me the most? Meaning, which of those 10 songs maybe, or you can, have a list of 5, whatever the case may be. You probably want to have a list of songs, and you want to narrow it down to the one that you can definitely write 3 pages on. Let's just say it that way. Because you don't want to pick a song that you're only going to get a couple paragraphs and then you can't do any more. Because then you're going to be kind of forced either to make something up, which again, I guess you could do that. I'm not going to go back and kind of fact check these, but if you're forced to make something up, it's just going to make the process probably more of a challenge to you, and it's going to be stressful because now you got to make something up that doesn't really exist, and sometimes it's hard to make up, legitimate organic feelings, because again, this is really you and that song, you and that lyric. So if you find yourself not saying, well, I really like this song, but I know I just know I can't describe it in 3 pages, then that's not the song for you. I would find a song that you can definitely describe 3 pages or 750 words. And I would try to keep it with one, because we're not trying to do a compare and contrast here with songs, right? If you start with one and you add another and you add another, yes, you probably will get the page link fairly quickly. But I think the problem with that is when you add more than one song, it's just going to make everything sort of jumble around, meaning you don't really have any rhyme or reason for one to the other. It's just going to make it all jumbled up. So again, I would probably, like I said, pick one that you definitely know that you can describe in 3 pages. Pick one, pick a song that really has a deeper meaning in your life. Maybe it's a song that's got you through hard times. Maybe it's a song that sort of goes through a generation gap, meaning your grandma listened to it when you were little, and then your mom listened to it while you were little, and then now you're listening to it. Maybe if you have kids and they're listening to it. So it's one of those things that sort of transits time a little bit. But I think this is going to be, it should be it should be creative in a lot of ways. And it shouldn't be really that boring topic. We've all had those teachers that give you a list of topics and say, here, have one. If you really think about it, this is something that we could probably all relate to, because we all listen to music at some point in our life, whether it's online or in the car. And we all have emotions at various times in our life that usually evolve around music or music at that time. So hopefully this won't be that big of a challenge. Again, I think the challenge is narrowing down to that one particular song, which that can be a lot of fun too, because you're probably going to dig up songs maybe in the past that you forgot about, and they may have a special meaning to you, and now you can maybe say, oh, I forgot about that one particular song, and now you start listening to it and reading the lyrics. So this is really going to be one of those assignments that you probably want to, you're going to want to hear the music again. You might want to read the lyrics. You may want to have the music and the lyrics sort of near you and playing while you're kind of going through your brainstorming when you're writing this thing. If there's a video to the song, you might want to watch that, because I mean, that's going to be visual, right? You can probably go to YouTube and find a video of that song. I would say be careful, because I mean, yes, it's music. Be careful of your song. Just make sure it's appropriate. You know, something that's not really laced or heavy with a lot of cuss words and that type stuff. You know, 1 or 2 is okay, but when you got, you know, you got a 5-minute song and the first 3 minutes is nothing but cuss words, that's not going to do really anybody any good. It's probably going to be hard to sort of describe that in 3 pages too, without getting redundant. But you can, you know, the music genre goes, it spreads over, right? You can do country, you can do rap, you can do R&B, you can do rock and roll, you can do heavy metal, you can do gospel. It's going to be, right, your song, your lyric, your choice. The only time I'm really going to have much input in this is when I start seeing drafts. So this is really going to be sort of your creation and your baby at this point. I'm not going to force or choose music for you. I'm going to let you do that. So do you have any questions about the Essay 2 that's due here in a couple weeks? Again, it should be one of those that is, it should be fairly straightforward, and it should start to go a little bit easier once you have a song in mind and you start doing your brainstorming. Again, that could be part of the battle, or that could be part of the fun, is sort of narrowing down which one that you want to really describe and write on. Now, if you look, you do have a grammar quiz, and I'm going to go ahead and make this available in case you want to do it earlier. I'm going to talk a little bit about that here momentarily. Okay, let's see. For whatever reason, let's see. All right. Looks like everything's good to go. Yeah, so the grammar quiz, right? That's due this Sunday. So just to sort of kind of keep things in perspective, Essay 1 is due Thursday by 11:59. Grammar Quiz 1 is due this Sunday by 11:59. It's September 12th. Basically, the grammar quiz is going to cover the grammar that we read for this week, which is the articles and nouns, and it's going to cover the grammar from weeks 1 and 2, which is basically the run-ons, the fragments, the common splices, the faulty parallelism, and the appositives. So there's really 5 major topics. So there's going to be 2 paragraphs. One of the paragraphs just wants you to correct the stuff, you know, dealing with nouns and articles. That's all you got to do. You got to find if you need to correct the article or the noun, or you need to supply an article or noun. That's all you need to do. You don't need to worry about punctuation. You don't need to worry about spelling. It's just focusing on nouns and articles, which again, if you read the text for this week, 235 to 237, and if you look at articles in English grammar and nouns, that will get you covered for that particular paragraph. The other paragraph deals with the stuff that we looked at week 1 and week 2, dealing with fragments, run-ons, common splices, appositives, and faulty parallelism. So you have 2 paragraphs, and you have 30 minutes basically to correct those 2 paragraphs. So what you would do is you would click here when you're ready, It gives you the instructions. It tells you basically what you're going to have to do in the first paragraph and what you're going to have to do in the second paragraph. And then you're going to hit begin. Now notice, once you hit begin, you have to finish it within those 30 minutes. Time is going to be ticking. Make sure that you save your answers often. So in case something goes wrong or something happens, that at least there's something saved. I will say that once your time expires, if you didn't finish before the time expires, it will submit whatever you have. So if you didn't save it, it's basically just going to submit blank document or a blank, couple blank answer sheets, answer key or boxes there that they have. So make sure that you're saving stuff regularly, so you don't want to rack up a 0 on the first quiz. The other thing is, keep in mind, yes, you have 30 minutes. So once you hit begin, you got to finish it there. You can't pause it. You can't stop it. I really can't reset it once you start. So I would make sure that you only begin this quiz when you're fully prepared to take it and sit for 30 minutes. That's not to say I wouldn't wait until 11:30 Sunday night, because chances are time might run out on you. But I wouldn't start it unless you're just fully prepared that you're going to be successful on it. Because again, once you start, you got to complete it. And there's no password or nothing like that for this. So the only thing you have to do is you click there and you hit begin, and then it's going to pop up one of the paragraphs. Once you finish that one, there's another paragraph. Once you finish that one, save both and submit, and you're done. Any questions with quiz 1 and what you need to do? Yes, I mean, if you feel prepared, if you want to take the quiz today, you can. Just keep in mind, once you submit, that's it. I mean, if you don't make the grade that you make, you sort of have to live with it. It's kind of like it's a one and done thing. So once you take it and submit, you kind of have to live with your grade. So you can take it pretty much at any time between now and this Sunday. The other thing is, too, just keep in mind, because we're going to be, I think we have 5 quizzes. I will drop your lowest quiz grade near the end. So if you don't do so well on one quiz for whatever reason, I will drop that. That'll be sort of like extra credit. It'll be like you just never took the quiz. So it's always, I mean, it's going to help your grade in some fashion. It may not pull you up, 30 points or anything, but I will drop one of your lowest quizzes when we get closer to November. So yes, if you want to, the same thing like with the essay. If you want to turn the essay 1 in early, you can turn that in today if you feel confident. You can take quiz 1 today if you feel confident. That will sort of really knock out any major requirements that you'd have to do this week, except just keeping up with the reading and starting on SAT. Then you won't have to worry about coming back and submitting or doing something, because really this is sort of a short week, being that we had Labor Day on Monday. So it's really going to be hard to believe we're going to be basically a month in come next week, basically 4 weeks. So if you survived the first month, we only have basically 2 more months left. 3 more months left, maybe. We don't go the full time in December, but we have the rest of September, all of October, all of November, and that little bit of December. So fall semester is really moving. The other thing is to sort of keep in mind, we won't have another long holiday until it's time for Thanksgiving break. So unlike public school, or unlike some of the other holidays that maybe the federal government and stuff take off, like we don't have any more holidays in September or October. Our next holiday is Thanksgiving break. So we're going to have to go the rest of the time. So just keep that in mind. Unless, unless there's something, God forbid, we have to evacuate for a hurricane or something of that nature, which I wouldn't necessarily call that a holiday. But if there's something that, really knocks us offline for a couple of days, we won't have another lengthy break like we did this past weekend. So again, like with nouns, most of us know what nouns are. This particular page sort of goes over what a noun is. It identifies it. It gives you some examples. It goes through the different classes of nouns, the difference between proper and common nouns, concrete and abstract nouns. You're probably going to want to use a lot of concrete and abstract nouns because, as you can see here, it says if you can see, hear, smell, taste, or feel them, it's a concrete noun. So when we talk about our descriptive paper, Essay 2, you're probably going to want to use a lot of concrete nouns then. Because it also says, if, however, you cannot experience the item with any of your senses, it is an abstract. So if you look, pizza is sort of a concrete. Well, why is pizza a concrete now? Well, it's because you can see it, right? When you go to Pizza Hut, you can see the pizza. You can kind of hear it, I guess, to some degree, if it's in the box rattling. If you hear the sizzling of the cheese and the pepperoni, if it just came out of the oven, you can definitely smell pizza. If your nose is working, you can smell pizza, right? You can smell the sausage, you can smell the cheese, you can smell the crust. You can feel it to some degree. And what they mean here by feel is you can feel, the pizza grease, you can feel, maybe the cheese is sort of, it's really cheesy and it's just sort of, dangling off your lips or off your chin or whatever the case may be. You can taste it. We know what good pizza tastes like compared to bad pizza. So when you're thinking about your song and your lyrics and describing that stuff for Essay 2, you're probably going to want to use a lot of concrete nouns. Abstract nouns, like they give here, is politeness. Why is politeness an abstract? Well, you can't see it. It has no color, it has no shape, size. You can't hear it. You can't smell it. You can't taste it. You can't touch it. That's abstract. You may have some abstract nouns, maybe in Essay 2, but just keep in mind with abstract nouns, your audience can't do any of those 5 senses. Right? We can't, hear it. We can't taste it. We can't touch it. There's also a difference between count versus non-count nouns. And here, usually, 3 pizzas, you can count that, right? Pizza 1, pizza 2, pizza 3. You can count delivery boys. There's 2. You can count cars. There's 6 parked cars. Something that's non-countable would be indigestion, right? You can't count that. Collective nouns, they go through, there's a lot more than just this. Where collective nouns is going to be more of an issue is when we start talking about subject-verb agreement here in a couple weeks. But some examples are, basically it says the group is a single unit, even though it has more than one member. So some examples are army, audience, board, class, committee, jury, group, society, team. Because, when you think of a jury, there's a group of people that make up that jury. So they look at it as one unit, but there's really, 12 or 13 individuals that make up that particular jury. So you want to be careful of that. That's pretty much nouns in a nutshell. So, you could probably look at this and get away with a good bit of because the book's just going to be, it's going to repeat it in a different way. This is just extra in case you need extra, sort of to supplement your learning, because I believe knowledge, the more knowledge you have, the more power you have. Articles in English, this may be a little bit more of the the handout may be more, seem to be more than what it needs to be, but it's just talking about, again, the difference between indefinite and definite as it relates to countable. And they talk about a little bit here, an, and the, and it sort of gives you a little chart to follow. And they give you some examples. Indefinite articles are a and usually use them with singular and countable. Definite article is the, and they give you some examples here. They talk about some common errors that you might want to be careful of. And there is an exercise here, and like I said before, you don't necessarily have to do these exercises unless you just want to. I would say at least look at them, try your hand at some of them, because they will be, good practice, study guide for a quiz. There is a little bit of practice. It's probably not as much in your book, but any of that, if you're doing it and you want to know that you're getting it right or whatever, just send me an email and say, hey, I'm doing this practice number 2 on page so-and-so, or, I'm doing this practice online that you sent us. Can you look at it and see if I'm doing it right? I don't mind doing that for you. And if you scroll down, I think this one actually has the answer. So this one you can actually, pick, look at your answers after you get done, and it kind of tells you, explanation of why it is what it is. So this might actually be a good thing. I would probably try to go through it first, obviously, and still look, going right to the answers. Especially if you're going to be using this exercise as a study guide. So really, this week was supposed to be sort of a regroup week to some degree. There's not a whole lot here. The only thing new really is the essay 2, which you basically have, nearly 3 weeks to draft and, get finalized. The first essay due 2 days, and then quiz 1, which we've been looking at the grammar over the last 3 weeks. So again, the only thing that's really new is probably the stuff that you need to read for this week. And that's it. Again, you can work ahead if you want. You can submit stuff before the due dates if you want. If you do submit early, I will try to grade it earlier. Right now, I'm trying to catch up on some grading in my 1102 class and still look at drafts that are folks that are still wanting to send drafts. So it may be closer to the end of the week before I really start grading stuff. But if you just want to submit it so you're not having to worry about, did I miss a deadline, that type deal, then, by all means, it's not going to go anywhere if you submit it early. And yours would just probably be one of the first ones I grade. So as it relates to the first essay, you should have a grade. You're going to definitely have a grade on the first essay way before you have to turn in essay 2. Being that it's due on Thursday, I hope to have all the essay 1s graded. I got 2 other classes that are going to have to submit essay 1s this week. My hope is to have them all graded by the 19th, if not earlier. So you definitely sort of know. You kind of maybe know if you've been sending me drafts, that type deal. You should see the progress from your first draft until your final draft, if you're really doing well or not. And I know we're sort of running close to time. I got a class here in 45 minutes, and I got to get something to eat before that class. So is there anything that's unclear or that you need help with, or there's any other things that are sort of left lingering that I didn't answer that you want me to answer at this point? Or are we all good with everything for this week? Because if we're all good, we can sort of call it a day right now. And just get ready for the rest of week 3 and gear up for week 4 next week. Diamond, are you okay with everything? Okay. Well, again, send me emails if you have any questions as we get through. I'm gonna upload this here before I leave today in your week 3 folder. So in case you need to go back and kind of look at it, it'll be up there at least until Sunday. I want to wish everybody a great week 3, and I look forward to reading everybody's final drafts of SA1, and look forward to start to read some of your SA2 drafts as it relates to um, the description of your song and the lyrics and all of that as it relates to your 5 senses. So I want to end on that note, and I hope everything else is going well in your world. And until next week, when we do another one of these things, I will see you then.